Good afternoon, everyone in Facebook world, everyone in Council on Aging world. My name is Carolyn Carger, and I am with Council on Aging in St. Johns County, Florida. And thank you for tuning in. We are doing another episode of Maturing with COA. And today, my super guests are two wonderful Care Connection volunteers, and they are Don Porter and Ken Leach. Hello, Don and Ken.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. You all are volunteers with a really important COA program called Care Connection. And we'll get into what the program does in a minute, but I'm curious, how did you hear about Council on Aging in the first place? And when did you come to St. Augustine if you're not originally from St. Augustine? So you want to go first, Don?
Hi. Yes, I moved to St. Augustine when I retired in 2014 moved from the Caribbean. I'd lived in the Caribbean for about 25 years. And we have relatives and friends in the area. We moved here and really enjoyed it the last 6.5 years. And I'd been here a year or so when I was sort of looking around, settling into retirement, looking around to do something. And I came across the Council on the Aging's information in the newspaper that they were looking for volunteers. And it went from there. I contacted the Council on the Aging and became a volunteer. And they asked me what I like to do. And I said, hey, I like to fix things. I'm handy. So they set me up with the Care Connection, and I've been with them ever since. It's worked out really nicely. Ken and I usually had, up until COVID, we would be about once a week on a certain day. We would volunteer for part of the day.
Very good. And how about you, Ken? How did you find out about Council on Aging?
My wife, Amy, was a volunteer coordinator with the Council on Aging, and I was recently retired and somewhat bored, and she suggested that I try it out and see if I'd like to volunteer. And she hooked me up with Don, great guy, and I started hanging with Don, and we started going around and trying to help people that were in need. And yeah, I've been here about 5 years. Amy and I moved to Montana. And so, yeah, it's something that I'm glad I did.
Oh, great. So do you both work in, I might just explain right now that Care Connection, to people who aren't aware of what they do, it's a program that, that Council on Aging runs, which is powered by volunteers, and it is funded by 100% by donations. And so the purpose of the program is to fill the gaps in services that seniors need to maintain their independence and avoid being forced by difficult circumstances into assisted living. So remain in their own homes, enjoy their independence, but there's help that seniors need that there's no funding sources for. And so that was the birth of the program. So things like what you all work on together, minor home repairs, things that maybe seniors can't afford to pay someone to help them do, but that influence their safety and their mobility and their independence in their homes. And then there's things like basic lawn services and even constructing wheelchair ramps, providing people with pet food for their pets so that they don't have to sacrifice their own meals to feed their pet companions, providing assistive devices to people who need them, and also installing things like grab bars and things that will help keep seniors safe in their homes. So that's just like a brief overview. It's totally powered by volunteers. COA, as you know, has just one part-time employee who manages the program named Michael Large. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So did you all start on the minor home repairs? Do either one of you work on, the other thing that we do in Care Connection is building ramps for people who are housebound and who don't have access in and out of their house. Do you both work on that, or just you, Ken?
I think it's just me. Don's busy with other things right now, but yeah, I started with Don in minor home repairs, and then really enjoyed that. I enjoy working with Don, and like I was saying earlier, you get something out of volunteering that I didn't understand before I started volunteering. I was always in the concept, you work, you get paid, and then once I was able to retire, I saw how volunteering, it just makes you feel so good to know that you help people, and I finally started getting it, where it's not all about money. And so then, yeah, then from there, I had an interest in the ramps, and I got hooked up with Ed, and he's in charge of the ramps. And that's another good thing that the Council on Aging does to help people that are in wheelchairs to get in and out of their houses. But it started with Don. Don's my mentor.
That's great.
Yeah.
So can you explain how the process works? When do you get a call from Michael Large? Do people call him, and then does he call you about a situation where people need help?
Well, it's sort of all of the above. Normally, someone will contact the Council on Aging that they need some help, and it gets referred to Michael at the Care Connection. And if it's an urgent matter, he may call me. Like one cold snap a year or two ago, there was a lady that was out of gas at her home, and all she needed was someone. She didn't have transportation. All she needed was someone. She had money. All she needed was someone to come over, take a small gas cylinder over to the Ace Hardware, have it filled up, come bring it back, and connect it. And Michael called me, and my wife and I were happened to be free that afternoon. I said, we'll be right over. And so it was sort of an emergency situation. She was going to be cold, and it was one of those days where it's close to freezing. So that's sort of the emergency situation. But most of the requests come in through more normal channels where, a request is generated, and then they have a book, they put it in, and we go through and prioritize what we think we can do and what's more important. We tend to prioritize for someone that maybe just came out of the hospital or rehab and they need a grab bar installed. That would be at the top of the list, and then other things farther down. And I don't know how much detail you want me to go into on exactly what we do. We try and keep to things that are more of a structural item, like a grab bar or a hole in someone's floor. One of the first jobs we ever did, a lady had a single wide manufactured home in town, and she was afraid she was going to fall through her floor. And I got there with another volunteer, and if it hadn't been for the wall-to-wall carpet, she would have fallen through.
Oh, wow.
So we were able to repair a large hole in her floor and, make her home safe, because, for a little bit of work on our part, we could save someone, a hospitalization, broken bones, and everything else. So it's really an interesting process that we go through.
So what other kind of situations do you find people in with their homes that need your help? I mean, can you give me some more examples of?
Oh yeah.
Pairs
Dan,
that
you want to jump in, or you want me to take this one?
Yeah, I think it's like Don saying that we try to prioritize for safety things. Something that comes to mind is how Don and I have worked on steps that may be loose or falling apart going up to their front door. Things like working on thresholds. Don's really good. He teaches me a lot. He taught me a lot about doors and adjusting doors, and that can be a safety thing if people trip on the threshold going in or out of the house. We try to prioritize it as something that's for safety. But there's also a blind couple, Don probably remembers, that we'll pretty much do anything we can when we're there because they're both blind.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure you know the couple I'm talking about, Don. And we put grab bars up for them. But safety is pretty much what we try to stay away from electrical and plumbing because we're not licensed. But it's generally things that while we're there, we can do small things, change light bulbs, do different things that really aren't safety, well, could be a safety with the light bulb. But that's what we try to prioritize, is things that grab bars and steps and things that to make them safer.
So would you go out and inspect it and take a look at a situation and then immediately work on it? Or do you go and assess the situation and then come back at a different date?
Well, I'll jump on this one, Ken. Normally, I will look at the request and have a number of requests for the day on things that we think we can deal with. If I have a question, I try and call ahead to the people and have some questions answered. They all know we're coming. You know, I do a little homework, make sure we don't surprise them. Most of the time, there's small items that we can take care of in an hour or two. We've spent multiple days on some projects, and you know, Michael sometimes has to reel us back in. That we have limitations to what we can do, and fortunately, Michael is an excellent resource, because he knows of the St. John Housing Authority if it's maybe a roofing issue, or other resources in the community that we act as sort of a screening person. We'll go out and do what we can, and I'll contact Michael and say, hey, Michael, this person really needs some additional help beyond what we can do. What resources are there? And sometimes he'll direct us or direct them to someone else that might be able to help. And we're just trying to. A lot of people, they just are having a struggle on many levels. And so we're there to help them however we can, besides the home repair. They'll ask us questions about things that may not necessarily have to do with home repairs, and we try and, refer them to someone that can help them, because, hey, we've all needed help in life. People have helped me my entire life, and this is an opportunity for me to help people. And kind of pay back all the help I've had from everybody, relatives, friends, parents, educators, employers, employees, whatever. This is my chance to help some other people.
That's great. Now, I would imagine that sometimes maybe do you wind up referring them to other COA services? Do you ever go into a situation and realize that maybe this person really isn't getting, they need help, they can't shop, or something like that?
Yes.
So that's another great thing, is that you're coming into their world and seeing all the other ways that maybe COA can help them.
Yeah, they may need. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, I was just going to say, I remember that we were going to. There's a family that they didn't have air conditioning, and I think this will answer your question, Carolyn, where we didn't do electrical work and it wasn't hooked up for electrical. And so that's where Michael can get a hold of certain people and try to get them to get the power to it, so we could put the air conditioner in for them.
Oh, wow.
Because like Don was saying, we're really not specialized and licensed to do that kind of thing. So Michael's really good. I think that if Don's having problems, that he can say, hey, let me see if I can get an electrician and get it. And then that happened to where they had the right power in the one room that we could hook the air conditioner up. So, he's a good reference, Michael is, as far as being able to get other people to help in certain situations.
Well, that's fantastic. And I just want you to know that Michael was the first person that I interviewed on our little show about Care Connection. So does COA provide the tools that you need, or do you bring them from home? How do you work with that?
I'd like to answer that one.
Go ahead.
Don is really crafty, and I used to bring a bag of tools, but Don's got these huge Tupperware type containers and has everything but the kitchen sink in them. And he usually has leftover scrap wood, like if we have to fix a step. And he has all this really neatly, well, except for the wood, but the tools and everything that he keeps in the back of his truck. So he's pretty much a MacGyver. We both are kind of like MacGyvers, but he really has the tools covered I can't think of a single time that we went somewhere and Don didn't have the right tool, and he's constantly getting other little tools for jobs. So I don't know if you want to pick up on that, Don, or not, but
Well,
pretty
you know,
impressive.
it sort of evolved. I mean, you know, the first few times I showed up and maybe I didn't have everything, and I realized that, you know, if I put everything that I needed in these large, you know, like storage totes, and I have 3 of them full of various tools and screws and parts and levels and, you know, just a little bit of everything from twine to duct tape. And we've used duct tape, you know, it does get us out of a few situations.
Please.
That it's easy. You know, once a week I could just load those totes into either a car or a truck, depending on what our circumstances were. And then we could go to the location and, you know, we've attempted various things. You know, we try, and we're getting to that age where we stay off roofs and things, but we've ended up, you know, cleaning out gutters and dealing with things. But, you know, we're trying to stay off roofs.
So I think that's a great idea. I actually, someone who works for the city was at my house once who was recovering from a fall from a roof.
Well, guys our age, you know, we have trouble understanding that we're not in our 20s or 30s anymore. And, you know, there's a time for us to be jumping around on roofs, and there is a time not to be. And we're kind of approaching that time where it's a good idea not to do too much on roofs.
Well, that's good advice. So can you give us an idea? Do you know how new volunteers hear about Care Connection? Do you think it's mostly word of mouth?
Well, you know, Care Connection they do advertise that they need volunteers through various, you know, media.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly word of mouth. You know, it's kind of interesting because there are quite a few volunteers with Care Connection, but a lot of us, you know, because we work independently, we really don't know each other. I can see, you know, someone's initials or signature on work that's been done when I'm at the office, but there are people that I've never met that are out there doing things. So, and everybody has a different thing. Like you mentioned earlier about referrals, you know, sometimes we'll get to a house where obviously they're not caring for their yard, and they can get put on the list for the cutters and clippers portion of COA where their lawn is cared for. So, you know, we try and keep an eye out for everything from, you know, social issues to medical issues to, you know, I have a background in the medical field, so, you know, I kind of keep an eye out for that. And, you know, we try and help people however we can.
Oh, that's great. And what kind of a reaction do you get from these people once you've been there and you've finished your jobs?
Very positive. It was like I was saying earlier, it makes you feel good to do something to help people, and they're so appreciative for putting up grab bars and things to help them not fall. And like Don said, a lot of them are coming back from the hospital, and they definitely don't want to fall and get injured again. And that's like I was saying, I didn't understand volunteering until I really started doing it, and it's rewarding. It makes you feel good that you helped somebody.
That's great. So you would recommend that to other people, that they check it out and try it out?
Absolutely.
One of the things I like to ask is if you have advice for any newly retired people. And I don't want to steer you into talking about volunteering, but any general advice for somebody who is about to retire or has just retired?
Well, be active, you know, follow your heart and your dreams, and just do what you like to do and stay active. I think, you know, where people get into trouble is when they're too sedentary. You see that, you know, if you quit moving, not good.
Yeah. They say use it, don't lose it.
Yep.
Right. What about you, Ken? Any advice for people facing retirement?
Yeah, it's like I was just thinking about how we couldn't do electrical work, and I'm sure there's a lot of retired plumbers and electricians, and they could probably help if they wanted to volunteer, because some of the things that we can't do, they could do. So
Great
There's probably
idea.
people that maybe hopefully will watch this and say, hey, I used to do wiring and I can do that pretty easily. I'm licensed and I wouldn't mind volunteering a few hours a week or something to help out.
Right.
And,
Or when needed, when you come across a situation, get the call that there's a major problem that needs a licensed person.
yeah, yes.
Great advice. So you mentioned not having met the other teams. I'm sure you've met some of them, but you work as a pair, and you don't necessarily come in contact with everybody who's a part of Care Connection. Have either one of you ever been to Christmas on the River?
I have not been.
No.
You haven't been.
I have helped get the different articles over there where they do it.
Mm-hmm. You volunteered for it.
Volunteered that, but I've never been to the actual program, no.
All right. Well, this year, because of COVID-19, so what I should start out saying is that Christmas on the River is an annual fundraiser that we've had for maybe 10 years or so. And the whole entire purpose of the fundraiser is to raise the money to finance Care Connection. It's all directly to support that one program, Care Connection, which is funded entirely by donations. So usually we have this sort of gala event. It's sort of like a holiday bazaar where they auction off wreaths and they have a reception and they have dinner and music, and it's just like a big holiday party. And that's how we raise the funds to finance Care Connection. And because of COVID, we cannot do it this year. So we have launched this sort of alternative non-event, which Tom Toretta, the development director, has dubbed the non-event of the season. So part of the reason why I had you all on today is to just raise awareness that, even though COVID-19 has happened and even though it has had a difficult effect on almost everyone in our community, we still want to support this really, really important program. And so we're asking people to please visit the event website, which is www.bit.ly/non-event2020. And the description is will be in the description of this video. To visit there, and if you are able to donate what you would have paid for a ticket to attend the event, since we can't celebrate together, or if you're a business, if you would please consider still sponsoring this really important program that has heroes like you two going out there and helping seniors who desperately need help and granting them the ability to stay in their homes where they're happiest, continue to enjoy their independence and live in safety and dignity in our community, which we really do have such a wonderful community here in St. Augustine, St. Johns County. And then if anybody wants to contact Michael Large, if you want to volunteer, or if you want to learn more about the services, or if you have a problem, or you know somebody who has a problem that Care Connection might be able to help direct you or help provide the service to fix the problem, you can contact Michael Large at 904-209-3700. Or his email is mlarge, MLARGE at coasjc.org. So anyway, just want to thank you both for having this conversation with me. It's been really, really enlightening, and I'm really happy to learn about everything. Hi, Amy. Amy Leach is the former volunteer coordinator who roped her hubby into volunteer work. Am I right?
She's the one suggested it, and then I was glad she did suggest it because it gives me something to do and I feel good about it. So
that's great.
She steered me that way.
Good encouragement for the other people in our community to get out there. Any words, Amy, that you want to tell people who've never volunteered?
It makes your life so much richer, helping others.
That's for true.
Very true. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with me. Thank you, everybody who's watching.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your hard work and for making a difference in so many people's lives. COA couldn't do what we do without our heroic volunteers who share their skills and their resources, and also our donors and our supporters who maybe don't have time, but have some extra cash that they can fund the good work that COA does. So I just want to thank everybody. Wish you all a really, really wonderful holiday.
You too.
On this.
Okay,
Thank
you too.
Have a great day.
Okay,
Bye, thank
thank
you.
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye
you.
now. See you, Don.
See ya.